Thank you. All right, and thanks for waiting. To the media, we are now joined by Ross Chastain. Into questions for Ross, so if you have a question for him, please click the participants tab and raise your hand. You can send me a chat. We're going to kick things off here with Claire. Go ahead, Claire. All right, well, then we will go back to her. Woody Kane, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Hey, Ross, appreciate your time. Tell me about these last few coming up. I mean, your confidence level with them, and I mean, it's not like you just started at this, but you know your back's a little bit against the wall. What kind of a thought process are you thinking right now when you're facing these last few races? Because a lot of these guys have been really fast. You don't get this far without being good.
Yeah, for us, we haven't had that, dominating speed in any one race. We've been really close, and that's what will get us to Phoenix, is maximizing what we're good at. And we're bringing the same car. I really can only focus on one race at a time, and that's about as far as my mental capacity will let me go. So Kansas is what we're focused on. Go maximize everything we can there. Take a well-balanced race car that has good speed, and execute. And then whenever we come out of Kansas, we'll focus on Texas. Now my guys and girls at college racing, they're focused on it. But for me, it's just one race at a time, one stage at a time, and really just looking more short term to make sure I'm doing everything I can right.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take our next question from Dustin Albino. Go ahead, Dustin.
Ross, kind of off that, is there a particular track in this round that kind of concerns you at all?
I would rank them in order of least favorite to favorite is Texas, Kansas, Martinsville. Martinsville being the favorite and Texas being the least. We didn't really get a fair shot there earlier in the year. We got ran into, and I hit the wall off the front bumper of somebody, relatively early. And it was just all about kind of survival and just minimizing blowing tires and stuff after that. So, it's I didn't get a totally fair shake at the whole race, but Texas is the one that I have circled that we have to just minimize the issues, minimize my driving mistakes for me, because the repaves are what I've probably struggled with the most in my career. I have grip, and then I'm wrecking, and I have no really middle ground of sliding and of challenging the car to really be on the edge. I don't see the edge coming, and I basically drive right over the cliff, and I don't see the warning signs. So Kansas, Martinsville, can't wait. Love just making laps around those places. I told Josh Wise this week that I wish we were practicing on Friday morning early for Martinsville. Those practices at Martinsville are even fun for me, and I enjoy the challenge of them.
Cool. Thanks, Ross.
Yep.
All right, we'll take our next question from Michael Shelton. Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you very much. Well, Ross, since the start of the playoffs, you've had top 10 finishes in every race except Las Vegas. And just looking ahead at Kansas, you've had a 5th place finish at the first race there. Just when you look at it now, what kind of adjustments do you think you'll have to make going into this weekend's race as opposed to the previous one at Kansas earlier this season?
We're actually bringing the same race car back, same general setup, like most people are these days, with no practice. Really, it's hard to deviate far from what works, and for us, with a little bit cooler temperatures, not nearly as cool as Sunday. Oh my goodness, I was just looking at the weather this morning. Sunday's gonna be chilly for those boys, so I'm glad we'll be long gone with the Xfinity Series, but. My team is just working basically with the same general setup, same car, right, same driver, and just trying to make sure the balance is a little bit closer. We were off. Obviously everybody's slipping and sliding, and trying to get our balance a little bit closer to be closer to as perfect as we can be.
And just with the start that you've had in the playoffs thus far, and what the ride that awaits you next year in Cup, do you feel like this is the best you've been driving in your career thus far?
I don't know. Probably not, to be honest. Hard for me to say, but probably not. There's things I think I'm doing well, and there's things I definitely need to work on. But I don't know that I'll ever honestly feel good about my driving, because every single lap I've ever made in my whole life, I've made a mistake somewhere in that lap. I've never ran the perfect lap. And I'm of the belief that nobody in the world, in the history of racing, has ever ran the perfect lap. So there's been ones that are really good, really close, but I know that if that driver could go back and change something, they would. So obviously our playoff run last year with the truck series and Nice Motorsports, that 45 truck like that was incredible. But I still made a ton of mistakes. So I don't even think in that I really, was driving great. We made some great things happen.
Thank you. Good luck.
Yep.
All right, we'll take our next question from Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Thank you. Ross, you mentioned Martinsville. Obviously, you've got a good bit of experience, and certainly a lot more experience than a lot of your other competitors in various vehicles. At this point, are you doing much prep work for Martinsville because of the uniqueness of having the Xfinity cars there for the first time, or are you more focused on what's at hand and we'll worry about Martinsville in another week or two?
The team-wise, they're always working farther out ahead. But for me, they haven't challenged me with anything for Martinsville yet, simulator-wise with Chevy and Pratt & Miller or the RCR rig. We haven't gotten that far. We don't work that far ahead. But I have driven some laps at Pratt & Miller for Martinsville, aside from colleague racing, just to get the juices flowing, right? And so that's just Team Chevy just giving me that time to get back acclimated with no practice. We'll be rolling off there with first time the Xfinity cars have been there in a long time. So it's not comparing watermelons to watermelons, right? It's watermelons to oranges. But it's still, like you said, I love that place. I'd race a wheelbarrow around there if it had a motor on it. So I love that place. I love making laps and the challenge of it. And we might not have a good day, and I might be slow, but that's a place that I'll smile no matter what.
Also, I'm curious with your experiences with colleague racing. I think a lot of people, I know Matt's kind of even talked about, seems like they're headed in a direction where maybe they potentially down the road maybe move into Cup. And I'm just curious, from your perspective, you've been with different teams, seen how different groups do things. Why has colleague racing had success that it has had? Obviously, it's a team that came up on its own, and a lot of teams that come up don't always last 3, 4, 5 years, and they've been able to have growth and now sustained success the last couple of years. Why is it this group having that success that could even maybe lead to Cup down the road, and others with the same dreams haven't had that opportunity?
Yeah. I don't want to put words, anybody's in front of anybody or in anybody's mouth, but I think that, what Matt, for me watching, I remember whenever Matt Colleague and Leaf Filter Gutter Protection was in Cup, they were a sponsor in Cup. Then they were a sponsor in the Xfinity Series, and they realized they wanted to own it. And I've heard Matt talk about this publicly, that, I'm not saying anything he hasn't already said. I think that he realized that, like, these things cost a lot of money week in and week out to operate and to run. So he might as well own it. And the entrepreneurial, he's an entrepreneur, and like that mindset he has made him want to get into the business side and own it. So it's the same thing. Like, he's already been in Cup. He's had a Cup car with leaf filter gutter protection colors and the leaf and the water all down the side. He's been there, but now he wants to go do it and he wants to own it. And I think that's what separates those guys from the rest of us. Like, there's no way I would ever want to own a race car, almost in general, period, any race car. I just don't know that is my mindset, and my mentality doesn't go with that. But he does, and he's got a guy like Chris Rice that's been there since they started owning this stuff, and they can keep building it. The key on the speed side and the success on the track has been Chris and his knowledge. But also, they're on campus at RCR. They get ECR motors. They've used the brain power and the brain trust of RCR for years. And now this year was the first year, 2020, that the 11 and then the 10 car full time had our own full time engineers. We each had one. I mean, you have to think about it. We have 2 engineers for 2 teams, so we have one apiece going up against Team Penske, Junior Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing, all these guys that have tens of engineers dedicated to just the Xfinity cars, and they have hundreds of engineers dedicated to their race program. So if you tie it in with RCR, there's more, but truly at Colleague Racing, there's 2 engineers and a lot of guys that probably are smart enough to be engineers. Like my crew chief, Bruce Slicker, he was an engineer, but now he's the crew chief, so you don't really count him as that role anymore. But the key was being on campus there. They're in the old go-kart shop, turned it in from what I hear, nothing really. It was an old go-kart sales shop to a race winning and championship contending Xfinity team. And yeah, Matt wants to be the best. So he wants to go to Cup because he knows that's where the best are. And they're just there waiting on him. And his mentality is he's going to go in, do it better, do it bigger than the rest that it's ever been done, and go win. And that's what he wants to do.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, and we'll take one more for Ross. We'll take Jeff Magliochetti. Go ahead.
Thanks, Rosa. Hey, Ross, thank you for joining us. And if there is such a thing as a perfect lap, you probably ran one in your first win, the final lap, your first NASCAR win at Kansas in the Truck Series. Where do you think you have evolved most as a driver since that epic night?
I don't know. I've used that race as motivation, obviously, for a lot of things. But minimize. So if you really, the last lap was good enough. I ran conservative on the final lap, so that's not the perfect lap. You can't drive conservative and have the perfect lap, in my opinion. But back up to right before the final caution. It was either the lap of or the lap before, I believe, of the final caution. I should have caused the caution off turn 2, and I overdrove the whole corner from entry of turn 1 all the way till I was sideways on the backstretch, and was fortunate enough to save it. Didn't get run into by Ben Rhodes, and so I used that sequence of events as motivation. Of I'm running second, I'm as fast as or faster than the leader, but I can't pass him. I almost spin out. I go back to 5th. Caution comes out. I reset. I get back to 2nd behind the same leader, and then he runs out of gas. So it's I use that as motivation a lot, not as much in the mindset of it was the perfect lap because it was my first win in the Truck Series, but more just because it was good, it went really bad, and I got it back to good, and then it was great, and that can happen in any race.
And just to follow up, you had the 16th place finish over at Las Vegas, but you guys fought back and made it to the round of 8. Now, how proud are you of the resiliency that the number 10 team displayed during the round of 12?
Yeah, it was. And for me, it just showed what we are. We grind it out. We're not flashy. We're not all over social media. We're not all over the NBC cameras on race day and on the race coverage. I mean, we have the in-cars. We flood it with that with Colleague Racing and Nutrient Ag Solutions. But, yes, I mean, just so much. So I drove it in the fence. I drove the car right in the wall about lap 40 before the end of stage 1, I know. And that hurt the car. We kind of get back. I get run into late in the race, get shot up out of the groove, almost hit the wall. But the reason we got run into was because we had a flat tire, and it was slowly leaking, and we were able to finish 16th. So it was still, when I got out of the car, the left rear tire was completely flat. I couldn't have probably made it another lap. So, we were fortunate the tire didn't blow, fortunate that when Austin did hit me, I didn't actually hit the wall. And then from there, we just survived, and we went and did what we needed to do at Talladega. Oh gosh, I don't even remember where we were just at. Goodness gracious. Where did we just race at?
The Roval.
The Roval. God. Sorry. I was completely scatterbrained there. Yeah, did what we needed to do.
Thanks, Ross. Take care now. Good luck.
Yep.
All right, Ross. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and we will see you at Kansas. Good luck.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.